Hello guys, this is Varinder. I'm the head IELTS tutor at One Australia Group. So guys, today we are recording this video to share with you some techniques how to attempt your heading questions and true false not given questions when it comes to your reading test, right? So this is a test which we have in front of us. As you can see, on the left side we have the heading questions and on the right side we have the paragraphs for which headings are to be found, right? So I'll read the paragraphs and one by one we'll try to find all the headings, and then after this we'll jump on to true false not given questions for the same passage, right? So let's start. Let me bring up the annotation tools that will make it easy for us to understand it. So the heading of the passages, they're saying tea and the Industrial Revolution, right? So something related to tea and Industrial Revolution must be talked in the upcoming paragraphs. They're saying a Cambridge professor says that a change in drinking habits was a reason for Industrial Revolution in Britain, right? So a Cambridge professor claims that because of the change in drinking habits, right, the Industrial Revolution came in Britain. Anjana Ahuja reports what she reports. Let's read that. They're saying Alan McFarlane, professor of anthropological science at King's College, Cambridge, has, like other historians, spent decades wrestling with the enigma of industrial revolution. So this person who is teaching at King's College, right, like other historians, what he has done something similar, which other historians also have. He has tried to try to find the answer to this enigma, means this puzzle of industrial revolution. Why they're calling industrial revolution an enigma here, a puzzle? Let's understand that. Let's read ahead. They're saying, why did this particular Big Bang, the world-changing birth of industry? So Big Bang here refers to this world-changing event, which is what? The birth of industry in Britain. They're saying, why did it take place in Britain first? And why did it strike at the end of 18th century, right? So now broadly, if you read what this paragraph is talking about, this paragraph says that this person is studying what? Is studying this phenomenon of industrial revolution which happened. And what he's trying to find out, that why did it specifically happen in Britain and why it took place at the end of 18th century. Now, if we take a look at the headings, guys, let's read the headings one by one and try to answer this. First heading here, they're saying the search for the reasons for an increase in population. Are they talking about increase in population anywhere in this paragraph? No, right? So you can clearly discard this. Next, they're saying industrialization and the fear of unemployment. Definitely they're talking about industrialization, but nowhere they have talked about any fear of unemployment here. This also we can discard. Next, the development of cities in Japan. No mention of Japan anywhere in the first paragraph. Remove it. The time and place of industrial revolution. This is something now which you should be careful about. Time and place of industrial revolution. If we look at this statement, they are talking about why did it happen at the end of 18th century, a reference to the time, and why did it happen in Britain, a reference to the place, right? So can I mark this as my heading? Yes, definitely yes, right? So this becomes my heading for paragraph A. I need not even read other headings. This statement clarifies that yes, this should be the title of this paragraph. This should be the heading, right? So let's mark this as a heading, right? So what I'll do is I'll highlight this so that we know it, that we have selected this as a heading for paragraph A. Let's read ahead. Paragraph B, they're saying McFarlane compares the puzzle to a combination lock, right? Now this person, he's doing what? He's comparing this enigma, this puzzle to a combination lock. Yes, so we were reading that this person is comparing this puzzle, this enigma of industrial revolution to a combination lock, right? Why is he doing that? Let's understand. They're saying there are about 20 different factors and all of them need to be present before the revolution can happen. So this person is saying that there are different factors, and how many? About 20 he's saying, and all of them need to be present before the revolution can happen. This is why he was comparing it to combination lock. In combination lock, what you have is you have to combine different numbers first, only then you can unlock it. In a similar manner, you need to have all the factors aligned so that you can have industrial revolution. For industry to take off means to start. What was needed? He is saying there needs to be technology, power to drive factories, large urban populations to provide cheap labor, easy transport to move goods around, an affluent middle class. Affluent means wealthy middle class willing to buy mass produced objects, a market driven economy, and a political system that allows this to happen, right? While this was the case for England, now this person is saying that definitely all these factors were available when it comes to England. Other nations such as Japan, Netherlands, France also met some of these criteria. Also, these nations had some of these factors, yes, but were not industrializing. However, these nations were not industrializing. They had some of these factors, right, like England had, but they were not industrializing. It means they are saying all these factors must have been necessary but not sufficient to cause the revolution. Understand this statement. They are saying that these factors definitely they are required, they are necessary, but these are not the only thing. These are not the only factors which will bring you industrial revolution. So there is something else as well which you need to combine these with these factors so that you can have industrial revolution. After all, Holland had everything except coal. So they're saying Holland had all these factors except what? Except coal. While China also had many of these factors. While they're saying China also had many of these factors which they have listed above. Most historians are convinced there are one or two missing factors that you need to open the lock. Open the lock here means that to have industrial revolution, you need to have these factors which are currently missing that are not listed here. Let's read the headings and try to identify which should be the heading for this paragraph. Now, if we read heading number 1, they're saying search for reasons for an increase in population. They're definitely searching for reasons, but not for increase in population. But why industrial revolution happened, right? So you can neglect this because they're not talking about increase in population. Next, industrialization and the fear of unemployment. So there's no talk of any kind of fear of unemployment in this paragraph as well. This is also something which is not suitable as a heading. The development of cities in Japan, definitely they have talked about Japan here, if I can highlight it for you, right? But they are not talking in any manner about the development of cities in Japan, right? So this also you can neglect. Fourth, we have already selected for paragraph A. Fifth, the cases of Holland, France, and China. Guys, definitely they're talking about it, right? But this is not the heading for this passage. Reason being, heading should be what? The entire paragraph should talk about that issue. They're just using these as examples, right? If you see here, Holland has been stated here, France has been stated here, China has been stated here, but they're just giving one statement about all these countries that these countries were not industrializing as Britain. Okay, so this is something which you can also neglect. So this is something which we can discard as well. Next, changes in drinking habits in Britain. No mention of any kind of drinking habits in this paragraph. 2 keys to Britain's industrial revolution. They have not mentioned 2, they have mentioned 20 different factors, guys. Please focus here, 20 different factors, okay? And they have in fact not listed all of them, they have just listed a few of them. So this also is not the heading. Reason being, if heading would have been 2 keys, then this paragraph would only talk about 2 main factors, not all of them, right? So this is also not the heading. Conditions required for industrialization. Yes, definitely. This is the heading now. Why? See here. From the first line itself, they have started talking about it, right? If I remove all these annotations here, and if I just highlight the part which I need to highlight for you. See here. From the very first statement, they have started talking about it. They are saying that different factors were required for industrialization, right? And most of these factors they have listed one by one. They have listed these factors, right? And till this point, they are listing all the factors. And they're also, right, after this, they are still talking about the factors that these were necessary but not sufficient, and there were some factors which were missing. So entire paragraph is devoted to what? devoted to the conditions, the factors, right, required for industrialization. So that becomes a heading. So I can clearly mark this as my heading. I can remove all these and I can mark this as my heading for paragraph B. Yes. Next, paragraph C, let's read. For paragraph C, they're saying the missing factors he proposes are to be found in almost every kitchen cupboard. So these one or two missing factors, we can locate them where? In every kitchen cupboard. They're saying tea and beer, two of the nation's favorite drinks, fueled the revolution. Now, the very first statement has talked about what? The two main factors which fueled the revolution. You can guess the heading just by reading this line, right? I'll give you a hint, right? They're talking about two factors. And if you read this heading, two keys to Britain's industrial revolution, this heading is very appropriate for this paragraph. And you can just devise this heading. I can say you can deduce this heading by reading the first statement itself. You need not read the next paragraph, the remaining paragraph, I should say actually, right, to derive this heading. Okay, but still we'll read it to ensure that we are on correct path. Let's read ahead. The antiseptic properties of tannin, the active ingredient in tea. So they are saying there was something known as tannin in tea, which had antiseptic properties, and of hops in beer. And in beer as well, there was something called as hops, which had antiseptic properties. Plus the fact that both are made with boiled water, that both of these products, we are preparing them using boiled water, allowed urban communities to flourish at close quarters without succumbing to waterborne diseases such as dysentery. Flourish at close quarters means they were able to live in congested spaces very near to each other. Without succumbing means without falling prey to waterborne diseases, diseases which were emanating from water, such as what? Such as dysentery. Dysentery means loose motions. The theory sounds eccentric. Eccentric means a little strange. It seems a little strange that tea and beer can bring industrial revolution. But once he starts to explain the detective work that went into his deduction, so they're saying once he provides you with the research which he has conducted, the skepticism gives way to very admiration. So skepticism means the doubt will go away and what is left is admiration for this person's work. Macfarlane's case has been strengthened by support from notable quarters such as what? Roy Porter, a person who is what? A distinguished medical historian, and he wrote a favorable appraisal of his research. So this person wrote a very favorable appraisal of the research conducted by Mr. Allen, right? And as I've already told you, what should be the heading? The entire paragraph is devoted to talking about the benefits of tea and beer and how it helped in industrial revolution. So two keys to Britain's industrial revolution. Yes. And last paragraph here, paragraph D on this page. Let's read that and try to get the heading for this one. Macfarlane had wondered for a long time how the industrial revolution came about. So this person, he thought for a very long time that how did this actually happen? Historians had alighted on one interesting factor around the mid 18th century that required explanation. So historians were focusing on one interesting factor which they believed required further explanation. Between 1650 and 1740, between this time, the population in Britain was static. Static means it did not change. Neither it increased, neither it decreased, right? But then there was a burst in population growth. But after that, what happened was there was an increase in growth of population. Next, they say, Macfarlane says the infant mortality rate halved, right? The number of babies who were dying, this rate halved in the space of 20 years. And this happened in both rural areas and cities. This happened in both rural and urban areas and across all classes. All classes means it happened in the houses of rich people, poor people, middle class, everywhere, right? People suggested four possible causes. So there were four possible causes suggested. First, they're saying, was there a sudden change in the viruses and bacteria around? So first question that was asked, that why infant mortality rate half, why decrease? That was there any change in the viruses and bacteria? They're saying unlikely. No, there wasn't. Was there a revolution in medical science? Was there any kind of revolution? They're saying, but. Now the word but conveys that they're going to negate this as well. But this was a century before Lister's revolution. So they're saying this was a century before Lister's revolution. What is Lister's revolution, guys? Let me highlight it for you. If I remove everything here and very quickly show you what is Lister's revolution, I need to scroll it up. So as you can see it here, They're saying it here. Joseph Lister was the first doctor to use antiseptic techniques during surgical operation to prevent infections. So they're saying what? That this rate which decreased, this thing, it happened 100 years before this person arrived at the scene, right? So it means there was no change in medical science, right? Only change which is going to happen in medical science, that will happen 100 years later from this incident, right? Was there a change in environmental conditions? So next they're asking, was there any change in the environmental conditions? They're saying it here. There were improvements in agriculture that wiped out malaria. That definitely some changes in agriculture were noticed that decreased malaria, that eliminated, in fact, not decreased, I should say, eliminated malaria, but these were small gains, right? However, these gains were insignificant. Sanitation did not become widespread until the 19th century. So sanitation also did not improve. The only option left is food. So the last factor they had to look at was what? Food. But the height and weight statistics show a decline. However, they're saying the height and weight of the people was declining. It means what? If height and weight showed a decline, it means quality of food was poor. So the food must have got worse. Efforts to explain this sudden reduction in child deaths appear to draw a blank. So they're saying what happened was that they were not able to find any possible explanation for this reduction in infant mortality rate. Though they tried to find it, they looked at different factors, different reasons, but they did not arrive at any specific conclusion, right? Let's read the heading. What should be the heading here? The search for the reasons for an increase in population, very first heading becomes our answer. Search for reasons for an increase in population. Yes, if I highlight it for you, the specific places where they have talked about it, they're saying it here. There was growth in population, infant mortality rate decrease. If the number of babies who were dying, it decreased, obviously it means population was growing, right? And then they're giving all these causes, right, which they were trying to find out about. So that becomes our answer for 1 here, right? So we can mark our answer for paragraph D as option 1. Okay. So this is how we can find out the headings for all these passages, no matter how difficult or how easy the passage is. If you go through the passage and try to understand the gist of the passage, what it is trying to say, you can always get the correct heading without getting any answer incorrect, right? And you can score all answers, right? You can score, let's say, if you have 9 questions here, you can score 9 out of 9 correct, right? So this is how, guys, you can find your answers for heading questions. Now let's jump on to true false not given questions, right? And we'll try to attempt some of them, right? Guys, I'm not going to read the entire passage here. We are still left with three paragraphs here. So I'll just skip it and I'll only try to find out the answers for those passages which you have already read and understood, right? So let's see. So they're saying it here, guys. If you read first question, China's transport system was not suitable for the industry in 18th century. We have read about China here, but there was no mention of any kind of transport system in China. If you read the statement, they're not talking about any kind of transportation system in China. So your answer becomes what? Answer becomes not given for question number 8, right? Reason being, they have mentioned the country China, but they have not talked about the transportation system that was available there, right? So our answer is clearly not given. Next, they're saying tea and beer both help to prevent dysentery in Britain. Answer is definitely true. It did. We have read it already that tea and beer, right? They had antiseptic properties and both of them were prepared after boiling the water. And this caused what? This caused reduction in waterborne diseases, which cause dysentery. Yes. So answer becomes what? Answer becomes true for question number 9. Next, they say Roy Porter disagrees with Professor McFarlane's finding. Clearly, the answer is false. We have read it. This was the only person, right, who wrote a favorable appraisal of his research, who favored his research, right? He was agreeing to what this person was saying, Alan McFarlane. He did not disagree with that, right? Answer becomes false for this one. Next, after 1740, there was a reduction in population in Britain. It's the opposite of what they have stated in the paragraph. They're saying till 1740, population in Britain was static. And after that, there was a burst in population growth. It increased after 1740. They're saying there was reduction. Answer is false. right? So these are the four answers which you can find from these paragraphs. For the remaining two answers, you have to read the next paragraphs, which we are not going to do here. I just wanted to give you a broad idea how you can identify your answers as far as heading and true false not given questions are concerned. And I believe you would have understood. Try reading the passage, try understanding it the way I'm doing, and then you should try to attempt your question. I believe you will always get them correct. Okay. So that will be all, guys, for this session.